in regard to the journey of the soul. And it's the perennial philosophy, that is, seek the consciousness of God, know oneself, serve others, and step by step we seem to go away and then come back to the original source. So it seems as if all these lines of evidence not only support the notion of life after death, but also a kind of a progression of the human spirit.
God, I love the title of that book, Enjoy Your Own Funeral.
Enjoy Your Own Funeral.
Obviously, it's suggesting you can, in effect,
attend.
That's right, be there. And really find out what people were thinking, like those who are truly mourning and those who are really secretly going, I always hated that son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's a good book, both from an evidential standpoint as well as personal information that he gathered from other people who were in communication with him about their experiences. It's a Gaulde Press out of Minnesota, and shows some photographs that indicate the personality or the ghost, or whatever you want to call it, the spirit of a dead person could be seen. His wife, for example, could be seen at her funeral.
I frequently do shows in which I simply invite the audience to call and tell real ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their own ghost stories. And, you know, I could do that as a show and do nothing else, Doctor. That's how many stories you get. And you get police officers, you get all kinds of professional people. And by the end of a night of that, you are really freaked out. I don't care what you believe. You listen to this, and you're done in by the end of the night. Yeah. 5 hours of that.
Yeah, there was one time at a Halloween celebration here in Laramie, a couple who have a family ghost. A couple I've known for many years. They're very trustworthy people, and they described experiences, and then people in the audience began to describe their experiences.
That's right.
As you say, it just it swells up.
That's right. It has a close relationship to UFOs, because you just sort of don't talk to people about a ghost you saw unless you hear other people talking about it, unless you think in your mind it's okay to talk about it.
Yes, I've had that experience many times when I started talking about my own UFO experiences with other researchers, where they would say, "Oh, Leo, don't talk about that." Why not? So because you'll lose your credibility, and I think, well, which is more important, credibility or integrity? And I think that our whole society is going through that struggle now.
Credibility or integrity? Yeah, I guess it really does. It really does come down to that, doesn't it? Credibility.
Yes. Alan Hynek had a nice statement in the 1979 conference in Brazil. He said that physicists are faced with a paradox, that light is both particle and wave. And he said UFO researchers are faced with a paradox that flying saucers are both physical and psychical, so that the psychic phenomena is just as important as the physical phenomenon. And that, to me, was so instructive, and yet some of his own followers have continued to emphasize the physical aspects of flying saucers and don't want to deal with the psychical aspects. But I think they're just as powerful and just as important.
Well, we're probably never going to get across the barrier until we begin looking in a different way toward the psychic aspect of this whole thing. I had always hoped in the early years that the physical would be the way. You know, hard science, we'd get a signal from another planet.
Right.
Still might, you never know. But something like that, or a landing, you know, something really serious.
Well, we get those tantalizing landings. We get soil samples, we get signals, and then people check the signals, and then they don't see them, and they take photographs. So all of the physical evidence is there, but at the same time it isn't consistent, and some people choose to deny the evidence because of that, and others who I admire say, hey, maybe we're supposed to learn something from this about ourselves, that we're physical, we're biological, we're psychological, and we are spiritual. And when we recognize as a humanity that we have a spiritual, that we are spirits on a human journey rather than humans on a spiritual journey, then I think that our level of awareness and consciousness will allow us to be welcomed into the Cosmic Federation.
And you believe firmly it's out there?
Oh, yes. There's no doubt in my mind, even though I don't have the kind of evidence. I remember when I was 10 years old, I was sitting on top of a shed in Rocky Ford, Colorado, and I looked up in the southwestern sky, and I had a thought. I said, my family's up there. And then rationality took over, and I said, now, wait a minute, Leo. Rex is your father, Annis is your mother, Bob and Jean your brothers, and Faye is your sister. That's your family. But that feeling haunted me for a long time, and it still is with me, the feeling that I have a heavenly family as well as an earthly family.
I do take it you saw Contact, the movie.
Yes, I did. Enjoyed it.
Yes. Well, that alluded, of course, at the end to the concept of a federation of planets, that we're not alone, and that was First Contact. God, I love that movie. I absolutely love that movie.
It wasn't marvelous that the scientist came back only with her experience and she didn't have any physical evidence.
That's what I pointed out to my audience, that she was then forced to ask them to take on faith, that which prevented her from getting a seat on the first trip. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
This is what Carl Sagan would do, would play the game. He would ask people, where's your evidence? Where's your physical evidence? In that movie, Close Encounters, with Dreyfus playing the character, he said, we are the evidence. Our lives are the evidence. And to me, that is so powerful that when a person recognizes that he or she can't tell anybody with a flying saucer in hand, but can only say, I am a person of honesty, I'm a person of strength, and I'm telling you I had the experience, and it's changed my life, and that, to me, is so much more compelling than a photograph or a soil sample or an artifact or an implant, although all of the evidence taken together is powerful.
Mm-hmm. I interviewed probably for more hours than anybody else in the media Colonel Corso. I sat down on the air for maybe a total of 12 to 15 hours on the air with him.
Interesting.
And the guy was telling the truth.
Yes.
I mean, there's simply no question about it. He was telling the truth. Now, I put a period at the end of that. The guy was telling the truth. So that tells me that this really is going on within our government and has been for some time. But our government is not, on the one hand, I generally believe, and everybody says, oh, come on, couldn't be, because no government could keep that secret for that long. Couldn't happen. How do you respond to that?
And I respond in the way professors do, yay and nay. Yes, governments can keep secrets, but no, they can't keep a big secret, and so the way to deal with it is disinformation, to provide some information that's true and some information that isn't true.
Enough so people say, what a bunch of crap.
And then people get discouraged and confused, and rather than sift through it, which takes a lot of time and effort, is the easiest thing to do is just to turn away and check out on something else.
So if the real thing comes along, they just automatically reject it?
I think so. So many people I've talked with, they said, well, the government said there's no such thing as flying saucers. I said, where did you hear that? Well, everybody who has these sightings gets ridiculed. And I said, right. Ridicule is the way to kill the messenger these days instead of, well, although there are some people who have been killed, I think, because of their investigations, but still in general, the best way that those in power have decided to deal with it is to ridicule those of us who describe our experiences, and that way...
destroying the credibility.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. And, of course, credibility can be dealt with that way very easily, but integrity, to me, that's stronger. There's a marvelous book by David Hawkins. He's an MD, PhD, a psychiatrist. He's written a book called Power versus Force, and he has used muscle testing as a means of gathering information about levels of consciousness.
What kind of testing?
Muscle testing. Are you familiar with a person holding out an arm and someone else taking a couple of fingers and pressing down on the wrist? And if you hold, say, a packet of ascorbic acid, vitamin C, next to the person's body and say, is this good for the body? Well, the arm tests strong. But if you hold a packet of refined sugar next to the body, the arm tests weak.
No, I've never heard of that.
Well, sometime, if you get interested, you might check with Hawkins. I've seen him on videotape, and he's an interesting fellow. He's done genius work, I think, in regard to levels of consciousness, and he argues that we can seek and find the truth physically, but we can also seek and find the truth psychically, that is, inside. So that, the X-Files motto is, the truth is out there. Well, the motto could also be, the truth is in here. Jesus said to the woman at the well, the kingdom of heaven is within.